Thanks for being here. We still have a few people coming in, and we're going to get started pretty quickly. So my name is Brenna Davis, and I am the Director of Integral Ecology at the Ignatian Solidarity Network. And so I've had the pleasure of getting to visit Brophy Prep and getting to visit these students in their class, working with Mr. Davis on their Ecological Justice Plan. And so it's been a pleasure, and they've been doing this work through a gratitude-based lens. And so I'm just really excited for you all to get to learn more about the great work that is happening. And so I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Davis and our 5 student leaders now. Thanks.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. I guess it's afternoon everywhere officially. Nice to be with you all digitally today. My name is Cooper Davis, and I am a teacher here at Brophy College Preparatory in Phoenix, Arizona, as well as a alumni of Brophy. And I teach in the fine arts department, but also have a really cool new job for the past few years, which has been to be the school's sustainability coordinator. So I just want to get us started today as we start most all things in our Jesuit community in prayer. So this is a prayer that comes from Laudato Si and Pope Francis, which I'm guessing many of you are familiar with. So in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. All-powerful God, you are present in the whole universe and in the smallest of your creatures. You embrace with your tenderness all that exists. Pour out upon us the power of your love that we may protect life and beauty. Fill us with peace that we may live as brothers and sisters, harming no one. O God of the poor, help us to rescue the abandoned and forgotten of this earth so precious in your eyes. Bring healing to our lives that we may protect the world and not prey on it, that we may sow beauty, not pollution and destruction. Touch the hearts of those who look only for gain at the expense of the poor and the earth. Teach us to discover the worth of each thing, to be filled with awe and contemplation, to recognize that we are profoundly united with every creature as we journey towards your infinite light. We thank you for being with us each day. Encourage us, we pray, in our struggle for justice, love, and peace. Amen. So like I said, my name is Cooper Davis, and I have some representatives here with me from our Student Climate Coalition. We have Dalton Shapiro, who can wave there, and Sergio, Jesus, and Ryan as well joining us. And what we wanted to do is kind of just start out our day by getting to know everybody that's here a little bit, and have a brief conversation in the breakout rooms where we can introduce ourselves to one another, get a sense of where folks are coming from to this meeting, where they're from, what they do. And then one question that we're going to ask that's going to really tee us up as we start our discussion today is, what are you grateful for on your campus or at your facility? Like, what is one thing that you all have that you are very grateful for? So Brenna, will you kick us into the breakout rooms? All right. Well, yeah, hopefully everybody had good conversations. It is really, just nice to connect with people from all over our, broad and diverse community in the Jesuit network. And so thank you for introducing yourselves and sharing. And for us, it's really important to start with kind of having an opportunity to connect with one another, as well as trying to frame ourselves into a mindset of gratitude. Is really something we're very intentional about in our ecological justice class in the Student Climate Coalition here at Brophy. And so to talk a little bit more about that and why we do it, I'm going to kick things over to Ryan.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ryan Farhumand. I'm currently a sophomore here at Brophy. And I just wanted to quickly introduce myself, and I'm going to go right into kind of like the main fundamental of our class, which is gratitude-based learning. So gratitude-based learning is, I'm going to give you our definition that we have on our Ecological Justice Plan, which I'll share shortly. Reminds us what we're thankful for. It helps us understand the problems around us by recognizing what we have already done. This allows us to identify areas where work needs to be done and allows us to make a plan for the future. So this was actually pioneered and created by Onora Global, and the founder of Onora Global is actually in this call, Adam Fishman. And so he's been a super, super awesome help and supporter of this. He's a Brophy alumni, so he's been able to kind of feed and perpetuate these kind of learning opportunities for students. And so I can share a visual, or Brenna, would you mind sharing the visual at the top of the Ecological Justice Plan? That kind of demonstrates how we branch out from gratitude into kind of developing these conversations. And so our GBL, which is gratitude-based learning, it really helps us have conversations and dialogue where we're able to take everything into perspective and then make deeper connections with other people and really appreciate everything that we're doing and the potential that it has. And so this connection and listening develops a better problem solving outcome. So as you can see, gratitude goes to understanding. Then we have the vision of the future, education, communion, etc., etc. And so this document that you have in front of you right now is the Ecological Justice Plan. It's basically a chronology of everything that we've done here at Brophy. So whenever we start with a topic and a background, a long-term goal, our strategies, implementation, metrics for success, why we do this, and it has basically our entire history of our class and gratitude-based learning all documented. And so this is our external document, so that we will be sharing with all of you guys shortly. So in case you do want to start a sample template or start an actual EJP at your school for any project, you have this readily available. And so from here, I'm going to pass this on to Sergio, who's going to be talking about Laudato Si. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to thank all you for being here today. And as Ron said, my name is Sergio Arvizu, and I'm a senior here at Brophy College Prep. And when Mr. Davis kind of created a class this year for us, really, we just needed to find a way on what we actually wanted to do, right? A class needs to have a clear projection on where they want to end the year. And I think that we did a really good job on basing that on Ignatian principles. So we looked to none other than Laudato Si, which is Pope Francis's encyclical written in 2015. And it was basically just a care for our common home, right? It was Pope Francis saying that, yes, there's a fundamental problem with how the world is running, and here's a way to approach it through the Catholic faith. And that really just tied into that's actually just what we're doing here, really. And our response to that was looking through Laudato Si, picking some of our favorite sections, reading them out loud on the very first day of class. And that's just how we started addressing some issues within our environment here at Brophy. And I'm a part of the advocacy team. So we're split in 4 different teams. And yeah, I sorry.
No, you're good. And so kind of for us starting off this year, we chose to start with these models of gratitude-based learning, as well as, really using Laudato Si and universal apostolic preferences as our foundation, because, we found that there is so much language and rhetoric around the climate crisis that leads with negativity, right? That so much of people's response is the world is ending, that humans have ruined everything, that, there's no hope. And we didn't find that to be a productive space for starting, because we really do live in a hope-filled world. That's what our faith teaches us. And that's what genuinely we see every day on campus within our communities. And so how do we kind of adopt that, that positivity, that eternal hope that we have for a brighter future, and then bring that into doing arguably the most important work to ensure that actually occurs, and put students into a situation where they don't feel paralyzed, that they feel like that they are actors in legitimate changes that can occur in their time at high school over the course of school years, and that they can see the impacts of their actions on their peers, the faculty, the campus itself. And then from there, begin to understand how that can have positive ripple effects on the world. And like I think Ryan was saying, we based all this from a partnership with an organization, Onora Global, and Adam already got a shout out. But to talk a little bit more about Onora Global, I'm going to kick things over to Jesus.
Oh, so hello everyone. My name is Jesus Ruiz Suarez. I'm a senior at Brophy College Preparatory, and I have been involved with the Student Climate Coalition since my junior year. And to speak a little bit more about Onora Global and the types of projects they have to introduce and really talk about with young students is their fellowship. So recently they also added an accelerator, but to speak on behalf of the fellowship that I did back in, I believe, February, it really helps bring students from across the United States, at least that's where the people from my group were from. And it really teaches them how to lead with gratitude-based learning. It teaches you not to think of the negative, but instead think about the positive ripple effects that you're able to have by doing certain things. In this case, like for us, it was like trying to advocate for different ways we can do things at our school, as well as implementing projects we have had in our mind. And to really speak on behalf of ripple effects, since it was something that was really embedded into us, it's doing something and seeing how far out it can impact different people. And with that, it could be, so for us here at the Student Climate Coalition, we made it so that we got new trash cans and we're able to implement it with 3 different containers with composting. And by doing that one, like that one project, the outcome could be, oh, so now you're teaching someone else how to properly dispose of their waste. And because of that, they're going to be teaching other people. And then it's going to lead on to this whole thing where you can then divert landfill waste into composting, which would then help to grow crops and fertilize different things all naturally without having to use pesticides and stuff. And so that's what ripple effects are. It's thinking beyond just the superficial and the short outcomes. It's thinking about the outcomes that are going to happen later on. And so that's what really the fellowship really brings about. And it also talks about curiosity conversations and being able to talk to people and learn about their stances on certain issues, as well as being able to just talk with people in general. And we really get that dive or like really embedded in us in the Onora Accelerator program, which recently happened. And I was a part of the first group with Ryan. And so what the accelerator really does, it's more project focused and how we're able to implement projects we have in a way that's very thoughtful. And we also have people who have done the fellowship as well. So we know that the people we're going in have done other projects as well. So it makes it much easier to speak on behalf of the project you're going to do, because it can have it so that someone else could already have done a project similar to what you're doing right now, and they can give you feedback. So it's a very tight-knit community that really helps bring people who have like-minded projects and really help you in building up your own project to impact your own community. And there's 4 projects or 4 project stages. And the first one is discover who, what, how, why. And that really is just figuring out what you're going to do. And then imagine the ideas you have to really make it happen. And then from there, it's improve. And you have to look through who, like the who lens. And you really have to see the different people you're going to impact and the different things you're really going to do. And then finally, you have to implement it. But it's not necessarily a 4 project stage that you have to go through the first step, second, third, and fourth. The stages can be changed anyway, like in any way. It's just based on where you're at and what you really need to focus on. And you really get that help from the Onora Accelerator. And it is a website right now to answer the question. And you meet with Adam Fishman, who's also here, and also Henrik. And they're really great people who really helped and guided us throughout and really questioned our projects. So you also have a two-man team that really helps push you to find the projects that really help you and can really bring about it in a way that is most impactful. And with that, I will be passing it on to Dalton to explain what he has to say.
How's it going? My name is Dalton Shapiro. I'm currently a senior at Brophy, and I have been in the club itself for 3 years now, since freshman year, and been with Onora for 2 years. It's crazy. So when I came to Onora, Mr. Davis gave me a referral, and I was really wanting to get more involved in the sustainability efforts, but I really didn't know how. So I got in contact with Onora, and right off the bat, Adam was a great guy. And I realized that I've been approaching the problem of sustainability completely wrong. Like I forget who was saying, Jesus was saying that the idea of sustainability shouldn't be problem-based, because oftentimes it turns off the people you're talking to, turns off their ability to listen, because all they're thinking, oh, this guy is just gonna be talking about the problems on the earth. So through the internship, I really learned that it should be through a gratitude-based approach, and looking at the aspirations on what can be done instead of what should be done and what a better future looks like. The internship itself also allowed me to have really great conversations with my family and friends on their idea of sustainability and how they look at the problem. So next, I'm going to be talking about how our Student Climate Coalition used to be a club and now it's a class. So it started my freshman year 3 years ago, and it was a bunch of inspired students who wanted to make a change, and they formed a club, and I was involved with it. And so we looked at our school, and it really, as a Jesuit school, we were making big efforts in certain areas, but sustainability wasn't really one that we were making huge efforts on. And so we came together and wanted to make huge change the first year. So we looked at our emissions, and when we did so, we realized that we could install solar panels. It's financially viable, also great for environments. And so we spent that entire year, along with other things, but our big effort was getting solar panels on our campus. And we successfully did so, presenting to the Board of Trustees for our school. And then last year, our huge efforts shifted from emissions to more waste. And we were able to bring composting to our campus through a bunch of presentations, a bunch of planning, figuring out how we can shift the paradigm of waste creation on our campus to become more sustainable. We partnered with local farming and so much more. And then this year, our school recognized us as not just a club, but more importantly, a class. So we were able to turn our club, which was 8 to 9 students last year, to 12 people in the class, and then another 15 or so in the club. And we wanted to make the difference, but the last 2 years, we were focusing on one certain problem each year, and we wanted to encompass the entire idea of sustainability. So we separated our club in our class into 4 sections. The first one is emissions. The second one is waste. The third one is water. And the fourth one is advocacy. And we'll be talking more about what these clubs have been doing. And yeah, I'll be passing on to Mr. Davis.
All right. So yeah, Dalton was kind of telling the story. And so one thing I'm very grateful for at our school is that we have a very supportive administration of trying new things. Essentially, when I first came into this role as sustainability coordinator, it came about the time of the Universal Apostolic Preferences, and the principal of the school kind of threw his hands up and said, I think we're really hitting the nail on the head when it comes to the other 3, walking with the excluded, showing the way to God, and journeying with the youth. But on caring for our common home, he didn't really have any direction, and he was good enough to say, any faculty member that has energy for this, like, please step up. And I had the opportunity to do so. And I found very quickly that I was getting absolutely nowhere with the administration. I had, talked to them about solar panels. Should we do them? I had talked about the trash there. I had formed a faculty committee to talk about these things. And it seemed that in spite of a desire to do things, every time we would come to them, we would always come to them with, here's the problem, here's what you're doing wrong, here's how you need to fix it. And it was adults talking to adults. And none of those things were effective strategies. And so within that first year, I was sitting here griping in my AP studio art class about this. And a group of motivated students were like, we got this. Like, you're doing it wrong. We're gonna figure this out. And we kind of formed that student climate coalition, and things really started rolling from there. And the successes have been innumerable. And I think the key things have always been gratitude and a student-led effort, that they are the voices, and that has ripple effects in a variety of ways. One, just from a marketing standpoint, they're all more compelling than me or any other teacher or faculty member at a school, because they're passionate about it. It is their future. And at least in a place like a school, I know many of you are from parishes, it's really valuable input to get that input from the people that the institution is supposed to be serving. And then additionally, it's just really, really valuable work for them to be doing. I know that, Jesus is now an expert in sprinklers. You would and right over here, I got Sam, who's learning how to put together quotes and write business proposals for electric vehicle chargers on campus right now. And Will as well is doing that. Well, Will's learning statistics. He learned how to do a statistical analysis to find out how far every student drives to get to campus every day. And then that's kind of the third piece. So gratitude, student-led, and then good data have really been our keys to success. And they kind of all wrap up into one. So that way, when we go into a conversation, we can lead that conversation with gratitude. I think any of them can talk about any times where we've been frustrated and then come in frustrated into a meeting, and that meeting only ends up being more frustrating. And then when we take a deep breath and recenter ourselves and tell our story authentically, and thank the people, because our administrations, our facilities staff, our parish priests, they all want to do a good job. They all want to live in a better world. They all want to facilitate wonderful communities, and we got to just help give them the tools to do that. And that's where data has really come in. And so for a little bit of data, we've had a lot of success this year. And so I'm going to hand things around to each of our committees to celebrate a little bit of that data. So as Dalton mentioned, our first big project was to install solar panels on our campus, and those successfully came online in October of this year after a 2-year concerted effort to get their approval and then a 1-year installation period. But now there are solar panels on every flat roof on campus, as well as covered parking in all the parking lot areas on the south side of our campus. And so thus far this year, those panels have produced 661,000 kilowatt hours of energy, which has offset 243 tons of carbon emissions, or the equivalent of planting 1,214 trees. And that has reduced our direct campus emissions by about 45% through our offsetting with those solar panels. So that's been a real huge win for the emissions team, which I said they need to get this proposal to the principal by the end of the week. So I didn't have them present, so I'm presenting on their behalf. But right now they are also putting together a proposal to install 30 electric vehicle chargers on our campus to be up and running and available to the student body and to faculty for next year. I can paste a link into the chat. We have a dashboard through our solar company that runs a live update of all this data for us, and that's all also part of what's in our ecological justice plan is telling the story of each of these projects we've done and placing all the data in there. And that's why we're hoping it becomes a valuable tool for other schools, that they can go, oh, Brophy did solar, and more than just like knowing that we did that. If you click in there, you can read kind of what we did, how we did it, look at some of the presentations we gave, and look at some of our data there to hopefully make a compelling case to your schools. One thing I know about school administrators is they're all very competitive with one another. And so every time we tell our principal that this will make us the best in the West or wherever, they get excited and become more compelled to join us for projects. So I'm going to kick things over to Dalton to talk some of the statistics on our waste for this year.
Yep. So like I said, last year we were sending all of our trash to the landfill because after doing a waste audit of our entire campus, so going through all the trash and seeing what was misplaced, we realized that 46% of our trash was being misplaced, which is absolutely ridiculous. And so that means that all the aluminum or all the recyclables were just getting sent to the recycling plant and then back to landfill because it was such a high misplacement. And so we came with the idea that we wanted to have composting, landfill, and then also aluminum cans. So no recycling. And so this year we have completely shifted the idea of waste creation on our campus. So everything coming from our cafeteria would be compostable or recyclable, along with some hiccups that we've had. But the vast majority is going to be compostable or recyclable. And so when students get their food, they have everything in one hand and everything and their drink in the right hand. So it's just simply throwing their compostable waste into the composting bin and then a drink into the recycling. So that has largely reduced our trash displacement. And so this year, we do trash audits every other week to see how we are doing compared to that 46%. And through this year, after a multitude of trash audits, our trash displacement is down to 16%, which is great, from 46%. That's over 3 times. And then along with that, we've diverted over 21,000 pounds of compostable waste, which would have produced 50% more methane if it was ended up in the landfill. Along with this, we've hosted town halls. We've gotten students engaged, and we've noticed that when students are throwing away their trash, they stop for that extra second to decide what trash goes where. So I think this year has been a great success, but our goal has been to achieve a 10% trash displacement. So for next year, we have some multitude of initiatives that we want to take charge of to get to that 10%, along with, like I said, not everything coming from the cafeteria is compostable or aluminum only. So we have been trying to fight that. It's not a fight, but more just a compromise. And we're really trying to get that to only compostable and aluminum only. And if that happens, we are 100% certain you can reach that 10% trash displacement threshold. So then I'll be passing on to Jesus for water.
So for water, we started out in the beginning of the year really believing that we were going to be able to get easy data. But once we actually started, we found out that of the 3 water sources we use, the one for irrigation, which is SRP for us, we can't measure how much water we're actually using for irrigation, which is a big hit to us since we know the biggest water use on our campus is for irrigation. So because of that, we worked with a water specialist for the city of Phoenix who came to our school and did a water audit. And we also kept in contact with him and gave him different values for like water usage here on campus. And after that, after getting like this whole model done by him with the information we gave him, he told us that we were overwatering, and he gave us this like model graph that showed that if we were to be overseeding, we'd be using like around like 9 million gallons a year on just irrigation, but that's also just an estimate for us. And because of that, we knew that if we wanted to keep grass, we had to do it as efficiently as possible. So we worked with Horizon Online, which is an irrigation distributor of parts for like irrigation systems. And we did an audit with them twice with two different representatives. And with that, we were told that there are two sides to fixing the efficiency and also being able to calculate it. And that's in the hydraulic side and also the electrical controller side. And with that, we found out ways that we can update the current controllers we have right now to be able to push back our or to really push forward our irrigation controllers to be updated and be able to track everything, because right now it's on manual. And so what we pitched last week was parts that we can add to the current controllers to make them Wi-Fi based, and which will help us with watering efficiently and properly. And so our next steps is really getting the data for how much water we are using for irrigation, to then pitch areas on campus that we believe should be switched out with xeriscape, which is basically implementing like native plants that don't use a lot of water, or turf. But we need what we pitched already to be able to do the next steps, because that way we can actually give data to the board of trustees as well as the president and principal of our school, so that everything can be implemented. And with that, I will pass it on to Sergio for advocacy.
As Jesus mentioned, I'm part of the advocacy squad, and this year was a really busy year for advocacy. 2 trips to Washington, D.C., and a really big prayer run. So I was lucky enough to be able to attend the Ignatian Family Teaching for Justice. Annie Fox, who's in this call right now, I have a great conversation, went with Miss Lauder, and it was a really good warm-up, right? We talked to Senator Mark Kelly, which is Arizona Senator, and I talked about the fight for Oak Flat, which is a sacred site here in Phoenix, Arizona, the San Carlos Apache. And that's been a part of advocacy that I've been a part of for the last 4 years now, which it feels crazy. And long story short, a very long story, like nearly a decade long story short. So it was, Oak Flat was transferred by the United States government to a private company from Australia. And the reason they transferred it was because there's a massive copper deposit underneath Oak Flat, one of the biggest in the world. And it was really done illegally. It was done in not the right way. There was no tribal consultation whatsoever. It was done in the middle of the night as a night rider bill. And we've been fighting for that for the past 4 years. And part of my trip to Washington, D.C. with IFTJ was talking to Senator Mark Kelly. And not even a month later, like 2 weeks later, I was back in Washington, D.C. with the Brophy Native American Club. And that was a really big trip. We met with over 30 senators from all across the United States. Like, I have some of their business cards. We have Arizona, Minnesota, Washington, Illinois, Arizona, Washington. And those are just a very small part of all the people that we met. And when we walked into Mark Kelly's office, the ladies at the front desk, they were like, "I recognize you. Weren't you just here?" I was like, "Yep, I was just here 2 weeks ago and I'm back." And that was a really big trip, I think. We met up with people from Gonzaga High School in Washington, D.C., and we really put our voices out there. People remembered us. We're still getting emails, we're still getting letters and asked to contribute to a lot of their advocacy from senators' point of views. And so that was all first semester. This is over the course of maybe two months. And this semester we did our sacred prayer run. It was our 3rd annual prayer run. And we ran from the San Carlos Reservation to Oak Flat. And that was around 50 some odd miles. And it was usually a 200-mile run. So the first 2 were 200 miles. And I have here the staff that we ran with. and each eagle feather represents one of our runs. We need a third one for this past one. But that was a really powerful experience, in my opinion. I guess that's where I found out what I was fighting for. Like before, I knew I was obviously advocating for Oak Flat, but standing there on the side of the highway and just being surrounded by nature and looking at like the mountaintops and just feeling the presence of nature was really overwhelming almost. And it just really pushed that fight inside of me. And recently, we were told that Biden's office was going to make a decision on Oak Flat. And that was really scary because his top advisor right now is in opposition of keeping Oak Flat as the United States government property. So we got on the email blasts, really. But Joe Biden's office got so many emails concerning Oak Flat that they reached out to one of our lobbying groups and told us, please stop emailing us. We're not going to make a decision today, but please tell everyone to stop emailing. So that was like a really big moment. You know, it felt like they're actually seeing us. They hear us now. It was just really, really cool. And I think that as part of the Ignatian network, we're in a really good place for this, because kind of what I'm asking really is that you help us amplify our message on social media and put pressure on President Biden to intervene on the fight for Oak Flat, because our network is massive, right? From coast to coast, we have people from Arizona all the way to New Hampshire. I know Mr. Hawking is there right now. So we have a really big group of people, and I'd like to share eventually some infographics and stuff that we can all post and get the word out. And we also really got an international attention from that. Patagonia, the clothing and outdoor brand, sent a photographer with us for 2 years about the run. So, you know, we're making noise. It's all really good noise, and we'd just like to put all of that out there. And I know with the help of everyone in the network, it can really get that across. And with that, I'd like to pass it on to Ryan.
Hello again, everyone. Thank you so much for being a part of this webinar. So some of our takeaways that we want to leave with you is that in our community, our gratitude-based learning approach has not only helped us make changes, positive changes, within our campus and with the people that we're having conversations with, but also with advocacy, where we appreciate the land around us, appreciate the people around us, as Sergio highlighted with Oak Flat, as well as our approaches to having conversations with others such as this. We really want to connect with more Jesuit schools and share what we're doing so that other people can get involved in this and make sure that we have a more expansive effect on the world by taking action. And we also want to share because we want youth to get involved and have meaningful conversations and have a positive impact on the world that they're going to be inheriting. There's a series of links that I've sent to Miss Brenna Davis. And so she will be emailing that out to all of you so you can have more of a concrete access to everything that we've done and do and information. And overall, I just want to say a big thank you for coming out. And if you guys have any questions, please do not hesitate to ask them. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you, Ryan. Yeah, we have 10 minutes left that we saved for Q&A. That if you have questions about any of these issues we're working on, any of the committees, how we do it, how we've implemented the ecological, whatever, either pop them in the chat or feel free to unmute yourself and ask a question. You can direct them at any of the students or just broadly. Just want to have an opportunity to answer questions and have a conversation.
I have a question.
Shoot.
Great. This is Annie Fox in Seattle. And I so love the kind of grounding and gratitude and this shift. But it's interesting because you guys, I feel like at the beginning you were talking about these very conceptual, abstract concepts like gratitude. And then you gave us this very concrete work plan. And I wonder, Mr. Davis, especially, I appreciated your saying that it felt like it wasn't working when it was just teachers and then you brought in students. Do you think you could help us understand a little bit how you went from sort of realizing you needed this gratitude-based strategy and bringing in a consultant to like how you developed a work plan, how that kind of then translated to concrete action?
So I guess the most effective thing that we did to develop a work plan was to steal one. And so what eventually became the Ecological Justice Plan was stolen from Jenny Ken's with Portland, and I believe she stole it from Bishop O'Dowd Catholic School. And then just at every stop along the way, it's morphed to fit the needs of the specific community which it's going to be designed to serve. And then really, as far as tangible progress, what it takes is a committed group of individuals to do the work. You know, we do talk loftily about like our aspirations and our goals, but these guys will tell you that the vast majority of our time is not spent picking daisies and you know, enjoying the outdoors. Not maybe the vast majority of our time in our life, but in this class we spend most of our time really putting together like business proposals and crunching data, or doing the work like sorting trash. We are not afraid to roll our sleeves up, and it just takes a lot of work. And that's why the class has been so effective that, you know, for any teachers out there, if you get a class, like mobilize them to do the work. We set the foundation of why we're doing it, and then that all fills in as we do it. And that's a very effective methodology in my opinion. You guys have anything to add there?
Yeah, I'd love to add to that. So actually, the shift from, sorry, there's somebody walking by, but the shift from kind of adult to youth to adult conversations, something that I believe made it even more impactful is, for example, I became super close with the ladies in the cafeteria and in the facilities. And so we were able to kind of bridge the gap between student and adult, and in an effort to kind of engage both parties in a different way. And so since we had that legitimate relationship and we had that push and we had that concrete, all of that concrete details there, we were able to share it on a better level and have these kind of curiosity conversations and push for these kind of changes and appreciate what they're doing. And I've found it that it's been a really awesome relationship. It's been very fruitful. I'm really so happy to have it.
Yeah, we really know how the school works now. Like, we know where the boiler room's at and what's going on in there. Catherine, you have a question?
I do. Thank you so much. This is all so brilliant. My question is, as you all graduate, what plans do you have, specific plans in place to keep this work moving forward, and what we can learn from those?
I'll talk as a graduating senior. I think that we have a really good group of people here. I think Mr. Davis did a great job on choosing the people in this class because we're all dedicated students. We spend a lot of time outside of the classroom on weekends, putting together strategies, putting together scripts, getting everything absolutely perfect. So I think that a big part of it is our own ambitious drive. And it's just, I don't know, I don't have any fear that anything that we're doing is going to come down in the next decade, really. And that's just because of the environment that we've built here. And Mr. Davis does an amazing job moderating us as well. Teacher Appreciation Week, I appreciate you. But he really does a great job kind of motivating us while also letting us do our own thing, right? Like Sam and Will, they've been working on this business proposal the entire time that we've been in this meeting. And that's just purely based on their own will. And they're also asking Mr. Davis questions along the way. And I know that I'll be back for all the Oak Flat runs, because a big part of this is choosing committees and choosing projects that we're actually really passionate about. I think that's the root of everything. We're passionate about the projects that we chose, and that's why we put in the work that we put in.
I'd love to build off of that. Since I'm only a sophomore, I'm only halfway through high school. And I'm going to be continuing this class next year and the year after that. I'm so excited because as of right now, I believe we only have 13 or 14 kids in the class. We've just done some recruitment and we're looking at having over 23, I believe, which means that there's going to be new minds, new ideas coming in and kind of shifting this, like shifting the way that we look at the world. And we're going to be able to pass on everything that we've learned to the next generation of students and so on and so forth. And I also think that even if for some reason, which I doubt, that this club ceases to exist, all of us who've been engaged in this have a passion that's been nurtured by this, that we will continue in our careers. A lot of us want to go into careers where we're directly working with sustainability and climate stuff. And so it's been really an awesome experience, as Sergio said, to kind of develop our passions as a whole. And we will continue these kinds of conversations wherever we go.
Heinrich had a great question in the chat. Do any of you want to hop in on that one? Could you speak to if this change in approach has changed anything in the social environment on campus? How are people, quote, coming together?
So to speak on behalf of that, I believe it has changed a lot in the social environment on campus, especially with gratitude-based learning. And the reason why I feel like it's very impactful is because when you start out by thanking people, it like opens the whole conversation to, well, it opens the conversation in a positive way that like there is no sense of like animosity between any groups, like pointing out, oh, so this is the problem we see of like the way you're running things, and this is what we propose to fix it. Instead, we choose to start this way because like even if there are some faults to the to the project, or like the way it's currently running, there are some benefits to it as well, and we also feel the benefits. So it's also very great to start off thanking people, because that's also something that a lot of people don't tend to do. And when you do it, people feel like a sense of joy because you are actually appreciating the work that they are doing for you. And it really helps meetings as well as just conversations to start on a great foot. And it really brings in that sense of community itself, because you guys are bonding over something that has been done, and you're also giving them feedback as well, and like to just make it better instead of making it seem as if it's bad.
Yeah, and to that point, I think that it's a really unique thing that we have going on, that you've got students that really know the facility staff at the school, that know the people who work in the kitchen. You know, Aiden here, he gets free soda every time he goes in there because they love him after working with him on a number of projects. Or you know, Ryan, I think, hangs out with Ms. Haviland more than our cafeteria director than he hangs out with his friends. So there's like these really cool like intergenerational relationships, like the trustees. I feel like we've developed personal relationships with them, and that there's teachers and students and facilities staff and support staff and all these people working together to this common goal is kind of cool. And from a student standpoint, I think the data shows us, and we talked about, you know, when you talk to a Brophy student about at least like the waste on campus, like they are much more connected, much more engaged, and can actually speak to what happens to their trash versus, you know, your average adolescent. Their connection with the waste that they produce is probably non-existent. Adam, do you have a last thoughts from Adam Fishman here with his hands up?
This is very quick, and just a thank you to this group, because most people might not realize Brophy is the very first school to say we're gonna try gratitude-based learning, put it into practice. And so it took Cooper raising his hand, it took Dalton raising his hand, Jesus, Sergio, Ryan, Will, Sam. Like this group they're all co-founding gratitude-based learning. They're all co-founders of this, and so it's really, really cool to see, you know, even just you guys sharing your story, that this group, before they even implemented solar panels, before they even implemented any of the composting, just by them sharing their story, that they had a conversation leading with thank yous before any of these outcomes were there, just sharing that story of them approaching a conversation from a different lens ended up inspiring a bunch of different schools, companies to go try out gratitude-based learning. So there's just immense gratitude for you guys being crazy enough to go first and being pioneers. So just thank you.
The gratitude's a two-way street, Adam. Thank you. I know that Brenna has a few announcements before we let you all go. But thank you so much for being with us today. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you all so much to especially all of the students for doing all of this preparation. I know that you were doing a board presentation, you're doing a lot and doing exams and stuff. So really, really grateful for you all. I just have a quick announcement, which is they're going to be doing, the Laudato movement is doing the letter in the classroom gathering next week, where teachers can talk about how they're using this documentary about Laudato in the classroom. Anne Marie, who maybe is on the call or someone is using her Zoom to listen in, she's from SLU High. She's going to be one of the teachers featured on there. So we hope that you can join if you're interested in doing that. But again, with that, thank you all so much for your time, and thank you to Brophy Prep and especially the students and Mr. Davis for your preparation and care in putting this together. It's very inspirational. So thanks, everyone.